Snow that broke an army. How Moscow's winter turned World War II on its head. The most powerful army on Earth didn't lose at Moscow because it ran out of bullets. It lost because, well, the sky froze solid and the ground turned into a weapon. Snow fell, temperatures collapsed, engines died, fingers snapped with frostbite. And in that white silence outside Moscow, World War II changed direction forever. This is not a story about weather trivia. This is a story about how snow, ice and brutal cold exposed arrogance, punished poor planning and shattered what was supposed to be Hitler's final gamble in the East. Welcome back to the scars of a global storm fronts, where we dig into the forces that don't wear uniforms but decide wars. By late 1941, German forces were racing east with terrifying speed. Their plan was simple and deadly: knock the Soviet Union out before winter arrived. Moscow was the prize. Take the capital, break the system, end the war in months. But, speed came at a cost. Supply lines stretched for hundreds of miles. Vehicles, well, they were worn down. Fuel and winter gear were surprisingly treated as optional. Commanders believed the campaign would be over before the cold even mattered. That assumption honestly was fatal. The first snow fell in October 1941. Not cinematic snow, not a gentle snowfall. This was heavy, wet, ground-choking snow that mixed with mud and turned roads into glue. Tanks sank, trucks stalled, horses collapsed. Then came November. Temperatures plunged well below freezing. By December, some nights dropped to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. This wasn't just uncomfortable, it was mechanical murder. Oil thickened into sludge. Engines refused to start. Metal cracked. Weapons jammed because lubricants froze solid. Soldiers woke up with frostbite before they ever reached the front line. Snow didn't slow the German advance. It strangled it. Cold doesn't need bullets. It kills silently. German troops lacked proper winter uniforms. Many wore thin coats meant for autumn. Boots had no insulation. Gloves were scarce. Soldiers wrapped rags around their feet. Some even used newspapers for warmth. But honestly, it just wasn't enough. Frostbite casualties exploded. Fingers, toes, ears and noses blackened and died. Entire units became combat ineffective without even firing a shot. Meanwhile, Soviet forces were better prepared. Winter clothing existed. Training for extreme cold was routine. Soldiers knew how to move, fight, and survive in frozen terrain. Meanwhile, Soviet forces were better prepared. Winter clothing existed. Training for extreme cold was routine. Soldiers knew how to move, fight, and survive in frozen terrain. Snow didn't pick sides. Preparation did. German armour was, absolutely deadly in summer. But in winter it became, a real liability. Engines designed for moderate climates just couldn't handle that harsh Siberian cold. Fuel froze, batteries died overnight. Crews actually had to light fires under their tanks just to start them, which, of course, risked detection and, honestly, destruction. Tank tracks slipped on the ice, wheels shattered, and artillery recoil systems failed. Even rifles, believe it or not, became unreliable as frozen parts just refused to cycle. Modern warfare depends on machines, but, you know, Moscow's winter shut those machines down. Frozen soil meant trenches couldn't be dug. Soldiers slept above ground, exposed to wind and snow. Fires were dangerous and honestly pretty limited. Food froze solid. Medical treatment became nearly impossible. Wounded soldiers froze before evacuation. Blood thickened, morphine crystallized, stretchers stuck to skin. This wasn't just hardship, it was systemic collapse. German morale cracked. Confidence vanished. The fear of the cold, well, it rivaled fear of the enemy. In December 1941, the Red Army struck back. Fresh divisions, trained for winter warfare, launched a massive counter-offensive. Skis replaced trucks. White camouflage swallowed soldiers into the landscape. Frozen rivers became highways. German troops, exhausted and freezing, were pushed back from Moscow. It was the first major strategic defeat of Hitler's army in World War II. The myth of German invincibility died in the snow. The Battle of Moscow proved something terrifying and, well, permanent. Germany could be stopped. The war would not end quickly. The Eastern Front would become a grinding industrial slaughter that drained German strength year after year. Snow didn't win the war alone, but, you know, it exposed the lies behind rushed planning, overconfidence and, well, logistical arrogance. Winter wasn't an accident. It was predictable, ignored, dismissed. And it punished that mistake mercilessly. There are survival lessons here that still matter today. Never underestimate environment. Never plan for best-case scenarios. Logistics decide outcomes more than bravery. Preparation beats speed. And, well, nature doesn't negotiate. The cold around Moscow didn't care about ideology, rank or ambition. It rewarded those who respected it and destroyed those who didn't. That's the real scar this winter left on history. By the time spring arrived, the damage was irreversible. Millions were dead or wounded. Equipment losses were staggering. Strategic momentum was gone. Moscow still stood. And the frozen fields outside the city became a silent warning etched into World War II history. Ignore reality, and reality will kill you. If this breakdown gave you a deeper understanding of how war is shaped by forces beyond generals and guns, make sure you subscribe to The Scars of a Global Stormfronts. Share this video with anyone who thinks history is just dates and names. Because sometimes the deadliest weapon is the weather.